Okay, so I've just come back from a bike ride in the morning. It's going to be a really hot day today. I think they're predicting 42 Celsius. It's already close to 30 degrees and it's getting on to 9 o'clock in the morning. Sun's bearing down. Yeah, it's going to be a nice day, sort of, if you like hot weather. Anyway, I've been out on the dually. I've got a cross-country dually, which is a Lapierre XR. Anyway, I thought I'd run you through that, and you can have a look at some of the other bikes that I've got. So yeah, let's do a walk around the Lapierre.
So the first question is, what's he doing riding a Lapierre? Like, doesn't he make his own bikes? Well, the answer is, I wanted to test the geometry. I've heard really good things about the geometry, and I keep coming across them because they're actually not built that well. So anyway, I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. Let's have a look at the Kapono Spec. So I'm running a RockShox Sid World Cup with the carbon crown and steerer. It was the XX version from a few years ago, and I've replaced the damper in it with a charger damper, which I really like. It's much smoother. You don't have the push button lockout, but yeah, it rides so much nicer. And the lowers have got the Keranite coating, which I've heard good things about Keranite coating, and didn't mind the colour, so that's what I got. Got a Bontrager speed sensor, little ANT Plus speed sensor, talks to the Garmin. All pretty standard stuff down there. With the got an XTR front hub. The rims are rims that I sourced from a supplier in China. They're an asymmetrical 30mm internal, and they're quite light. They're under 400 grams. I think it's like 385, 390 grams or something like that. So I built them up with 32 spokes, DT comps, aluminium nipples, and some people have problems with aluminium nipples, but I've never had any issues with them. I coat them with the Bow Shield, never have a problem with them. Running the Conti Race King Protection tyres, again, which I really like. They're sort of grippy. I typically run them at around 19 to 20 psi. With the protection casing, it just gives that bit more support and you don't get flats, so all good. I use the Ritchie foam True Grip grips. You got to replace them every now and again. They do wear pretty quickly, but they're light and they're comfy, and yeah, I've been using them for a long time. I like them. XTR 10-speed stuff, older 10-speed stuff on this bike. It works. Been happy with it. The Gopro Mount, Garmin. I'm still running a Garmin 500. Again, it works. The stem is a specialised stem with a sleeve to give a bit more support of the steerer. And needless to say, I've ultrasound scanned the steerer. There's the charger damper. So, as I said, it doesn't have the remote button, but it works really nice. So I really like it. Talking about the frame a bit more now. So, I've seen quite a number of these come through, and they've often got crack indications, and like on the top tube and around the shock mounts and those sorts of things. And the build quality on them leaves a bit to be desired, so I often find wrinkles and voids when I do scans on it. A bit less than ideal. Other components now, the Magura Viron dropper post. Absolutely love this thing. It's so easy to use. There's no cables. I can move it from one bike to another. Because on this bike it didn't really have cable routing for a dropper post, and once you run a dropper post, you can't go back to not running a dropper post. So this thing solves all those problems. Like, you can put them into an old bike. It's great. I've had it for quite some time now. I've charged it twice. Yeah, great. Sella Italia SLR. I've got a few SLR saddles on different bikes. They just seem to fit me, and I can move it from one bike to another. and yeah, it's all good. Now here's one of the problems with this bike. Where the shock is, all the gunk coming off the back wheel goes straight into the seals on the shock, and it gets covered in muck and dirt and stuff. I've had to rebuild the shock already after not that long a period of time. Like it was just after riding through winter, really. Yeah, so that's sort of less than ideal. And they do crack around the shock mount. There were a number of crack indications on this bike which I had to repair prior to being used. So the shock is a RockShox Monarch RT3. I tend to use it mainly either open or in a lockout if I'm riding to the trail. Other things, got XTR race crank length's 180, wolf tooth components 32, drop stop chainring. Yeah, that's been reliable. Haven't needed to run a chain guide or anything like that. And XTR race pedals. So yeah, I used to use the Crank Brothers pedals for a while. We went back to XTR and been using those for quite some time again now. So, and they've been good. I've rebuilt them once in the time I've had them, and yeah, no problem. So yeah, the chain has got a special coating. It's an aerospace treatment which I've dunked the whole chain into, testing that out. Seems to be working not too bad. It's dry, so it doesn't collect all the gunk. It's a XT rear derailleur with the clutch, and an 11 to 36 rear cassette. The rear wheel again is one of the Chinese rims through my supplier, 32 spoke, DT competition, aluminium nipples. So same setup as the front, really, except it's an XT hub, not an XTR hub. I can't believe the price of an XT hub; they're so cheap, and they work pretty well. And the Conti Race King protection tyre. So that's sort of the rear end. Now it doesn't have a pivot at the chainstay and seat stay junction, so it relies on flex of the stay to provide that articulation. So we'll see how long that lasts, considering if there are voids and porosity in the laminate, then that will initiate fatigue. So yeah, it seems to be okay so far. I haven't broken it yet, but yeah, it's something to be aware of. They're not, as I said before, they're not built the best from the ones I've seen anyway. You could get lucky, but the ones I've seen have had little manufacturing flaws throughout them. So what else we got? XTR brakes, 160mm rear rotor, same as the front. And then I've got my little pump, and I've 3D printed a little holder for a multi-tool, and then a Velcro strap for a spare tube, and then a drink bottle. Just run the plastic drink bottle cages. Yeah, it is a bit tight in that space. And then I'm running a Stages power meter. So this thing, actually, I bought it a number of years ago, and it's probably worked about 50% of the time. When I got it brand new, it wasn't working out of the box. I had to send it back. It just goes through batteries. Like every second ride, it seems like I've got to replace a battery or update firmware all the time. So people complain about SRMs, having to replace the battery. It's expensive, but I reckon the amount of money I've spent on batteries in this thing is probably way more than that. And every time you sort of go out to use it, you're not sure if it's going to work. So yeah, less than ideal. So coming back to the frame, I do actually really like the geometry on this bike. It does everything for that style of bike really well. The really rails corners. It's got a lot of traction. So if you can find a good one like that, hasn't got production faults in it, you'd be going okay on this bike. What else is there? Oh, the other thing, I'm running an aluminium handlebar on this one. I do make my own carbon bars, however they take time to make, and I can pick up an aluminium bar for like $25 or whatever, so I just threw that one on. And lastly, you've got the Viron electronic remote. You just press the button and the seat goes up and down. So the people say, oh, don't you know, there's a bit of a lag on it, doesn't that worry you? And it's like, no, your brain adjusts to that so quickly, and you anticipate, and yeah, it works really, really well. So the portability of it from one bike to another outweighs all those little things.
So that's the Lapierre, the good and the bad and everything about it. So yeah, it's starting to really get hot out here now. I think I'll go in. Might go for a swim. So the office and the workshop is back open on Monday. So we'll try and get sort of more regular. I'll try and do the question of the day thing again a bit more when I'm back at work. Sort of been on holidays, but yeah, holidays are over last weekend. Anyway, we'll see you again soon. Bye.